Hello and welcome to the No Balls podcast. I'm your host Patrick McDonnell, joined by co-host Finn McDonnell. Today is the second MLB podcast back, the second overall podcast back. This will be the MLB Trade Value Rankings podcast. Overall, in this podcast, we will be talking about the trade values of every single player. Maybe not every single player, but we're going to essentially make a top 50 trade values list in the MLB. How we do that, we'll get into in a second. Just another couple announcements to make. Starting in 2 days from now will be the NBA preseason show podcast with other co-host Sheldon Coffman. That should be releasing every other day. One team has their own 45-minute segment each. Other than that, just also the Atlanta Hawks and the Hornets podcast. The first two recorded with slightly worse audio than this podcast, but other than those two shows, every other podcast has gone very easily. Good audio recordings. We're looking good. Finn, anything you got before we get started here with the trade values?
Nope, let's get into it.
All right. So going forward, we're going to just talk about some case studies that make up trade value. Finn, is there anything you got here to start with case studies? Is there any that you have in mind?
Let's see how important club control is. Obviously, it's pretty important, but how important is it? How
Yeah.
much should we factor that in?
So, I mean, you know, when we ask these questions, it's going to seem pretty obvious, right? The guys with the most club control are the more valuable guys. But it's always on like a constant weighing scale depending on how productive the player actually is and how much does team control actually help you with these guys. Um, you'll see in some circumstances where, that extra bit of club control doesn't help you too much when the guy is not a very good Major League ball player. But when they're already determined to be a good Major League ball player, that club control is extremely valuable, right? What do you got on that, Finn?
Yeah, that seems about right. It's not going to matter how much club control you have if you are a Thomas Nito. It'll
Yeah,
definitely matter if you're a guy like a Garrett Crochet.
yeah, and like club control is very important for guys. Uh, that being said, you're never going to have more club control than in the current moment. Um, Additionally, arbitration guys are going to be, if you're going to have 4 years of arbitration, you're going to be less valuable than a guy who's going to have three, but it's still the same amount of service years. But it's very rare that we're actually in a situation where that's actually mattering. But generally, more club control is very good. Um, yeah, you got anything else there, Finn?
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. Club control is a good thing. If you have more of it, that's good. Unless it's over a long time in a bad contract, then you want to get out of control of that contract. But yeah, anything else you got, Finn? Before we move to another case.
Not when it comes to club control, though.
Yeah. Is there any other like key parts of trade value that you want to go over?
Yes, like how much can you expect future expectations to be met with the player?
Give me an example, probably.
Okay, Francisco Alvarez and JT Realmuto.
Yeah. So here
How would you do that trade?
yeah. So here, I'm not sure what the answer is on who's winning that. It can be realistically determined that JT is probably the better player right now, and it's probably going to only get a little bit worse. And Alvarez is definitely not better now, but he's only going to get better, realistically. Um, it's hard to weigh whether or not guys are going to be more valuable in the future. Like, obviously, you want to have the guys who are going to be better for a while, but you also are guaranteed that JT is better right now than Alvarez is. And that is a hard part to weigh in trade values. And I think it is very important that, at the end of the day, this is talking about talent, right? It's not about how much mediocre talent you can get for a long time. You know, at the end of the day, we want to be breaking, want to have record breaking and, you know, generational type of players. It's just, you know, how valuable are they actually in trades can sometimes depend on how old and how young they are and how much we can predict for them for the future. So, thinking about it this way, Alvarez we can predict is going to be better, so it is going to boost his value because there are signs to say that Alvarez is going to be a really good catcher for a really long time. Any other questions you got there?
How much does a not so great contract impact trade value? For example, the likes of Manny Machado.
Yeah, so I mean, trade value and trade difficulty often get lumped into each other. It is almost impossible to trade for that Machado contract. Uh, Interestingly enough, like Stanton's contract, it got traded. Not many of these big contracts end up being traded, but Stanton's contract got traded. His trade value was hit a lot by it because of that contract, right? Um, Even though in the moment it didn't seem like that bad of a deal, we're seeing now as it plays out that that deal is pretty debilitating for the Yankees. So bad contracts, and not even just bad, expensive contracts do really play a part into it. Contracts that we think are bad and significantly overpaid are almost always negative contracts. Uh, you look, looking for a real world example. Yu Darvish's contract, it's just a negative, right? Even if you think you're going to get good production out of Yu Darvish for a year, he's not very good, and he's getting paid like he is very good. It's a negative contract. Frankie Montas was essentially traded at this deadline just to get off of his contract. Uh, it's the reason salary dumps exist because those contracts are not good to have on your team. Um, yeah, did that kind of answer your contracts question?
Yes, it did.
And additionally, you can get to a point where maybe a bad contract, or maybe not a bad contract, but an expensive contract is better than an undecided contract. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah, I don't know.
there could be a guy who you don't know what's going to happen with his contract, but you're probably predicting that it will still be a pretty big one when you have to sign it. At least you know what player B could his contract is. That's another aspect that contracts do play into it here. Additionally, one thing we do have to obviously point out, there is a positional spectrum, obviously. The more valuable positions are the more valuable positions. You got your pitchers. Pitchers are pitchers. Are you going to be a starter? Starting pitchers probably have top three positional value in the league. Shortstop, probably up there, probably number two.
Center
Shortstops,
field is what?
yep. Center field, shortstop, and starting pitchers probably have the most positional value in trades. Following there, you got your catchers and second baseman. You got your first base or your third baseman. You got your corner outfield and first baseman. Traditionally, shortstops will have more trade value because in the MLB right now, there's probably only, I don't know, like 35 guys who can play the position well enough at the major league level. And then there's probably only, you know, 17 of them who hit well enough, who also field well enough to justify them playing in the major leagues every day. So it is a very valuable position. Similarly with center field. Starting pitcher, you get a good starting pitcher, they go out there every fifth game and give you a chance to win a ball game. starting pitchers are very valuable. Probably at the end of the basically where do you think the bottom end positions come in on the list?
DH
Yeah, so DH, what do you think you value more, a DH or a reliever?
or reliever.
Okay, I'm very either way on
You
it.
know what?
I would say a very good DH is definitely higher than a very good reliever, but your average reliever is probably a lot more valuable than your average DH.
I agree with that. I was going off of the average one.
Yeah, I would say on average, probably average relievers are more valuable, which we probably won't get to average relievers and average DHs in the top 50 trade values list. But um, you know, we'll eventually get to there. Um, so yeah, we've kind of established what determines trade value. Um, Now, basically, we're going to go through the exercise of making our top trade values list. The way we're going to do this is we're going to pretend like we're GMs. So, Finn, you probably have the first trade mapped out here. What team am I the GM of?
I'm going to say the New York Yankees.
All right, so I'm the GM of the New York Yankees. Finn, who's calling me?
Who's calling you? Probably the Pirates.
The Pittsburgh Pirates are calling me. All right, Finn, who are the two players here that are being offered up?
Skeens and Aaron Judge. And it's not a
Okay.
trade I would take.
All right, Finn. So which team do you think is getting off on the winning side of this deal? We're going to talk about it here.
I think the Yankees would be coming off on the winning side of that deal.
Yeah, Finn. I was going to say here. I kind of agree with you here. Skeens has the remainder of this season and then 6 more seasons under team control. Albeit those latter years of the contract are very likely to be high arbitration estimates. But that is really hard to argue with. Now, can I make this point for you?
Yes, you can.
With how good you think Paul Skeens is at his peak during those 6 seasons, do you think it's going to be better than Aaron Judge over the next 6 seasons?
I do.
You do. Oh wow. I think that's maybe a little bit bullish on Paul Skeens, but lay out the case for it.
I think that Aaron Judge will fall off, and I think Paul Skeens is going to be pitching like he's going to be winning Cy Youngs.
Okay, and you're saying at a discounted price because of team control.
I think that Aaron Judge will be an all star. He might even be an MVP candidate, but I still think Skeens will be back.
Okay, so let me say this, Finn. Is Aaron Judge playing right now better than you think? Or do you think Paul Skeens could have a season that's more valuable for a team than Aaron Judge is having right now over the remainder of his over the next couple of years?
I don't. I think at most it would be even, because Aaron Judge is having a season that deserves him the MVP trophy.
Yeah, he's having a season
However,
that's deserving of a unanimous MVP. It's just there's also other guys playing at that level.
I could also see Skeens taking home a Cy Young,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think they're
basically the pitcher's equivalent of an MVP.
I think they're really close. I think just because of it, it's Skeens. He hasn't had an arm injury before. It's very likely that he does have an arm injury. And I'm just going to side with the fact that I know Judge's production. I know it's going to be very good. I think I barely lean Aaron Judge here. So what are you leaning here, Finn?
I'm leading Skeens, mainly because of the club control.
Okay, so you're
I
leaning
th-
Skeens. Is it in a landslide or is it significant? How?
it's by a hair.
Okay, so we have Judge and Skeens pretty even here. So here's how we'll do it. Are you even in favor of Skeens, strongly in favor of Skeens, in favor of Judge, or strongly in favor of Judge?
Even in favor of Skeens.
Okay. So yeah, I think we're very similar here. Aaron Judge and Skeens are towards the top here. All right, Finn. Let me make a call to you. You're still the manager or the general manager of the Pirates. I'm calling you about Paul Skeens. I'm offering you Gunnar Henderson. Are you taking this deal?
I'm not.
You're not. Oh wow. All right, lay out the argument for Skeens over Gunnar.
Honestly, like I said, I think Skeens will be winning Cy Young Awards. I think that towards the end he's going to be making a tiny bit less money than Henderson will.
Okay.
And once again, it's by a hair.
Okay,
I
so
100% believe these are the top three that we've named.
so here's the thing. I think Gunnar is probably ahead of Judge and Skeens. Gunnar's already playing at an MVP level. He only has one less service here than Skeens. He's we've we've seen a floor from Gunnar that is an all-star caliber player. It's just really hard for me to
You know what?
not put
Actually,
Gunnar.
I would take that deal.
Okay, so we're as of right now we have Gunnar as the most valuable piece between the three that we've discussed so far. We have Gunnar at number one. Let's play it this way. As of right now, I am still the manager or the general manager of the Baltimore Orioles. Gunnar Henderson's up for grabs. Name me one player that you're offering one for Gunnar that you think might have a shot.
Mookie Betts.
Okay, this is a good one. So Mookie Betts, Finn. The case for Mookie Betts. I don't think there is one. Right? It's. I think Mookie Betts needs to be discussed more with Judge. I think contractually they're pretty similar. Um, yeah, no, I think Mookie's definitely a little bit below this range that we're talking in.
I'm trying to give you a case, but I don't think there's a player who has a case.
All right, then
Unless
I'll.
Shohei Ohtani is healthy. And then Shohei Ohtani would have a case. Healthy
Okay,
and pitching well.
so Finn, let's discuss Otani next to Mookie then. Where do you feel about Otani next to Mookie? Let's say the Dodgers are trying to make a trade for their. I don't know how the Dodgers would make this trade, but let's say Otani and Mookie were somehow being traded for each other. Who do you think's coming out the winning side on this trade?
I would go with Mookie, the team that get Mookie Betts.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of lean that way as well. I think the contract has a lot less doom in it, obviously. Um, at the end of the day, Mookie still does play a premium position in second base. And if not, he plays an elite right field. Um, Now there's just a bunch of injury gloominess with Otani. I have it pretty not pretty strongly, but it's I'm definitely leaning towards Mookie here. So yeah, we'll for now we'll put it in that way. Um, all right, Finn. Right now we're trying to dethrone the king, Gunnar Henderson. You're we're
Yeah,
gonna shift
I have to.
ownership. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I have to echo you with the injury concerns with Otani. If we knew that Shohei was going to be pitching like a Cy Young candidate, it would be Shohei over Mookie. But I very much doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah, and Shohei would maybe be more in that Aaron Judge, Paul Skeens argument than he is now. I do agree that there's a lot more cloudiness around that contract. I think so. We're gonna change. We're trying to dethrone Gunnar Henderson here. You're now going to have ownership of duties with general management of the Baltimore Orioles. I'm going to try to dethrone Gunnar Henderson. All right, Finn. I'm the Kansas City Royals calling Bobby Witt for Gunnar Henderson.
That's close, but I don't think I'd take it because of the extension of Bobby Witt.
Okay. I this is the main reason why I kind of didn't bring up Bobby Witt earlier when I brought up Gunnar Henderson. The contract extension is already there, right? It's already going to be a big number. I think Bobby is a tick below Gunnar as well. Where do we feel about Bobby next to Skeens and Aaron Judge?
I think he is above Judge, but below. I think he's above both Judge and Skeens.
Okay. Yeah, I agree because like what's the floor with Bobby? I feel like his floor and ceiling as a player I think is pretty similar to Gunnar. Probably better, but we already have the contract stuff with Bobby figured out. Bobby's already got his 13-year deal. Gunnar's making he's going to be in arbitration for another couple seasons, and there's probably not it's probably not too likely that he tops the Bobby contract. It could happen, but Bobby already has that deal. I do agree. I think the extension bumps him down below Gunner. You got anything else on that before we go forward?
I don't. And I
Yeah.
don't think we will dethrone Gunnar Henderson. I think he's the most valuable player in the league.
Well, not the most valuable, but the most valuable trade asset.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah. So we'll go. We'll go. We'll still try to beat Gunner here. Um, you know, and obviously Gunnar Henderson, premium position. We haven't brought up anybody really yet who is not a premium position player. Um, it's really hard to dethrone a guy like that. All right, Finn, let me call you up. This is a former MVP that I'm calling up to try to trade you for Gunnar Henderson. All right? On a very team friendly contract, Ronald Acuna Jr. for Gunnar Henderson.
my answer is still no. I have my concerns about his defense. I have my concerns on whether or not he's even going to be able to play defense after this recent injury.
Okay. Now you're the GM of the Royals. I'm offering you Acuna for Bobby Witt. What do you say?
I still say no.
I agree. You're the Yankees. Judge for Acuna. Do you say yes?
I don't.
I assume with how you talked about Skeens, if you're the Pirates, you say no.
I yeah, I still say no because I don't know. Acuna could be a DH.
Yeah, very likely. All right, Mookie. Mookie for Acuna. Do you say yes to that?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. I think Acuna falls in this category with Shohei probably.
Same injury concerns. Could
Not
be a
the same.
DH. And
Yeah, and like some questions about whether or not he actually plays a valuable role in the team. I agree, and I think the reason Acuna is in that range is because of the contract is better. The ceiling with Shohei is clearly better, but Acuna's contract is still not as you know bad to say the least. All right, we'll try a couple more times to dethrone Gunner. All right, Finn, you're the Orioles. I don't know how this has happened, but I've maybe stolen one of your players. I'm offering you Adley Rutschman for Gunnar Henderson. Which Orioles side of the team golf of the golf the team golf tournament says yes?
I think that the team with Adley would take that trade.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Because I
I
think shortstop is slightly more valuable than catcher.
and here's the thing though. I if you were to tell me in a couple of years that hey, Adley has had a better career than Gunnar, I wouldn't be surprised. Adley has one less year of service time. Catchers have a little less longevity than shortstops. I don't really think Adley's too far off, um, but I would definitely have him below Gunnar and Bobby. I'm interested in what you think on Bobby, and then we'll get into Skeens and Judge as well.
I think I'd have him right below Bobby.
You'd have him right below Bobby? I think so too. Um, so yeah, Bobby then Adley. Yeah, I think that's a good place to put him at generally. So as of right now, how we're working: Gunnar Henderson number 1, Bobby Witt number 2, Adley Rutschman number 3, Judge and Skeens at 3 and 4, and then we're still filling out the rest. We could find other names here too. Um, let's go to another young player here, Finn. What do you think about Ellie De La Cruz? All right, let me put it this way, actually, because it's hard for me to just say where you think Ellie De La Cruz is. Um, let's say you are the Baltimore Orioles and I'm the Reds calling you, offering you Ellie De La Cruz for Adley Rutschman. What do you say to this?
No,
You say no. All right.
I say no.
This
I
is a
have.
hard. This is a hard one for me, actually. Maybe maybe I'm a little low on Skeens now that I'm looking at it, because I feel like if I were offered Ellie De La Cruz for Skeens, I would say no. But I feel like if I offered or Adley for Ellie De La Cruz, I would want to have Ellie De La Cruz over Adley. So maybe I am a little bit lower on Skeens realistically. What do
I
we?
am. I
Maybe what?
am. That trade is a smidge off. A
Yeah.
smidge.
Maybe what do we think about? All right, Finn. You're the Yankees. You're offered Adley Rutschman for Judge. What do you think? What do you say?
I think I'd take that.
Okay. You're offered Adley for Skeens.
I would not take that because of the club control thing.
All right. So you have
And I think starting pitchers are more valuable than catchers.
yeah, you have Skeens above Adley. as I'm sitting here, I think we're gonna move Skeens up to 3. So right now we're looking at Gunner, Bobby, Skeens as our top 3. What do you think, Finn?
That looks like what I would say is the top three, with Judge falling just outside of it.
All right, and then Judge or Adley, more trade value.
I'm gonna go with Adley.
Oh, I was gonna go with Judge. All right, Judge or Ellie De La Cruz, more trade value. Which one do you have?
I have Judge.
Okay, yeah. See, I was going to go Judge, Ellie De La Cruz, Adley. You flipped Adley and Ellie De La Cruz. Let's make the cases here. Ellie De La Cruz this season, while striking out all the time that he does, still an 85th percentile offensive player. His outs above average, 97th percentile, playing shortstop, amazing base runner. I think just with more polish, there's no way that he doesn't become a better player than he is right now. I think Ellie De La Cruz is. I don't know. I don't see how he gets much worse than he is now. However, I'm fine having Judge at 4 ahead of Ellie De La Cruz.
And I'm kind of fine having Ellie over Rutschman.
Okay. So right now, are we looking at Judge, Ellie, then Adley? I think that is how I would have it. If I was the
Yes, that is what
Yankees.
we're looking at.
If I was the Yankees, I wouldn't. Yeah, you were definitely a little higher on Skeens than me. I think I wouldn't have done Skeens, but if I was the Yankees, I would ask for no more than Skeens, Bobby or Gunner for Judge. So yeah, I do agree with this.
It it's hard for me. I want to put Julio in here, but he has just been bad
Yeah,
this year.
yeah, I him very interestingly to Bobby Wood Jr. Like it's hard to place him with generally how he's performed. Yeah, William Contreras, Finn. Where do we think he lands?
I think he lands just outside the top 10 at 11 or 12.
Yeah, so this is definitely not a guy who is a top 10 player, but he has 3 more seasons of team control after this season. He's a catcher, and he's really great on both sides of the ball. He's maybe a top 10 ish player if you're being objective and ignoring the actual name involved. Where do we feel about William Contreras next to Acuna or Shohei or Mookie?
I think we have to order those three, then he would be right after them. Maybe above Acuna and Shohei. Not above Mookie, though, because Mookie plays that premier position.
Yeah, I
And
kind
is
of
locked
agree
down.
with you there. Now, let's say this. Let's say Mookie is locked down. Do we think Mookie is going to be better in that 4th season of that contract, of the remaining contract, than William Contreras 4 years from now?
I don't know. We don't know if he's even going to be on the team.
But with what we think he would likely sign, right? He's also what? He's only 26 years old. So what do you think about an age 31 William Contreras versus an age, I don't know, what would that be?
I
An
think it
age.
would be pretty close, but I'm leading William Contreras.
All right. Yeah. So at that point, what does the extra service time have? Or the extra club control?
Because for trade purposes, when you're thinking, would I trade this guy? Would William Contreras still even be on the team?
Yeah, but how much basically what I'm trying to say is I think I would rather have William Contreras than Mookie. You know, I wouldn't rather have him now, but making a trade, William Contreras has those extra service years. He still plays a premium position. It's hard to argue. I think he definitely is one of the top guys for sure. Um, I'm
It's
not sure
hard.
if
I
it.
think it would depend on if Mookie's still playing a premium position or not, and if he's still at least a decent hitter.
Okay, so if you're the Dodgers, you're offered Mookie Betts for William Contreras. Are you saying yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we're pretty. We're saying William Contreras over Mookie.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that, but it is close. I wanted to make that clear to our
I
audience.
agree because it's really hard to value him right now. Like it is definitely a hard one to make. Yeah, that was actually a good one. What do we let's go ahead and get Soto where we think Soto might be.
I think Soto is just under Otani, but above Acuna. Maybe even a.
Okay,
Yeah, I stand with what I say.
so here's the thing: JRM and Mookie, they're giving you a lot more positionally than Soto, and they're already on fair value contracts. Soto, we're assuming will be on a fair value contract. Let's say generally they're MVPs on fair value contracts. I think Mookie and J Ram are more likely to withstand positionally, but Soto is also a lot younger. So I think Soto is more bunched in with Mookie and J Ram than Acuna and Shohei because Acuna and Shohei like actually have those health concerns. Shohei's a lot older.
Also, I think that at least Soto can play left field
Yeah.
decent. I will not say good whatsoever, but decent. Otani's
Yeah.
going to be a DH, and I threat for Acuna's health.
What do we think? You had brought him up earlier. What do we think about Jordan Alvarez?
I think he's more valuable than Acuna by a hair.
Yeah.
Like him better offensively.
Here, let me
And
pull
I
this
do
up.
think he will withstand being able to play left field if needed.
I don't remember. Did Jordan get a contract? Okay. So Jordan did get an extension a while ago. Okay. So I kind of agree with where you're standing too. Um, I think Jordan has a higher ceiling or has a higher floor than Acuna. Maybe the ceiling's not as high, but I think in a range of likely outcomes, Jordan I would kind of weigh a little bit higher. We'll get back to that. All right. As it's looking right now, we're gonna have about 20. We're probably only gonna get to 25 names. We're not gonna get to 50, but we're gonna still get to 25. Top 25 trade values. Um,
We'll see if we can get decent views, and maybe there'll be a part two.
yeah, for sure. We can maybe refine the list a little bit. Um,
Like, where would a Corey Seager be?
yeah, so Seager's an interesting one. Uh, Probably, similar to Mookie and J Ram, but I do think that being said, Seager probably falls closer to Shohei and Acuna, where it's likely that with injuries and aging, that he isn't living up to the contract that he's getting paid in a little bit of, and not right now, but in a couple of years, maybe Seager moves to third base, and you aren't so happy with that 32 million a year cost. Um, and at that point, is he an MVP caliber player? I do think Seager is probably towards maybe even you know probably with Shohei and Acuna. What do we think on that? If you're the
Yeah, I
Dodgers,
think
you're offered Shohei for Seager. What do you think? What do you say? I'll give you my answer. I think no.
I just think a no as well.
If you're the Braves, you're offered Seager for Acuna. What do you say?
I'm
I
actually going to guess.
I think I lean no. All right, so let's talk about a guy who is going to keep his premium position. What do you think about Francisco Lindor?
I think he falls just out. I think he falls just below Corey Seager.
Okay, so what's the reasoning? If we think he is going to keep the premium position, they're making similar money. What's the reason to have him below?
Because I think that while he keeps the premium position, I don't think that his offense will stay. I think eventually he will become a defensive only shortstop.
Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. All right, let's go a little bit younger. Already has the contract. Fernando Tatis Jr.
Him, I think he is just above Corey Seager.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's in the Cunha Shohei range, where it's like, hey, if he's performing well, he's at an MVP level. If not, I don't know what we're working with, but it's still pretty good. Um, he has a high
Uh,
price on his contract, but I think that if anybody's going to live up to that price, he definitely could.
I agree because I believe at worst he will be a good defensive player. At worst.
Maybe I'm leaning Tatis or Acuna over Tatis and Shohei over Tatis. Barely. We'll come back to it. I think we've decided they are in this range. Any argument? Trey Turner, do you think he needs to be in this range of players, Finn?
I don't.
All right. Zach Wheeler,
I'm winning no by a hair, but I could see him being in like what 23 to
25th.
25.
Yeah. All right. Kyle Tucker, Finn. I think this is the guy who's probably on here in the trade
I
value
agree.
wise. Okay. A year left of team control. When he's been healthy these past, I don't know, 4 seasons, he's been an MVP caliber player, and there's signs that he might be better. Where do we think Kyle Tucker is?
I think he's just above Fernando Tatis Jr. Or just below.
I think so as well. Um, you can argue that, yeah, we'll put him there for now. We're going to go back to it. We're going to debate it later. All right. All right, Finn. You had mentioned him earlier. Julio Rodriguez, where do we think he lands?
Sorry. Because of his offensive production, I think he lands in the low teens, if not high 20s. Or low 20s.
All right. Well, that's kind of the range we're working with here. What do you think about Rodriguez over Lindor?
I don't know that I could say I do that.
All right, we'll definitely come back to it. What do we think about George Kirby?
I think if he's on there, he is like 24th, 23rd.
All right, I'll put him in a list of guys that we're going to debate in a second. All right, Finn, Vladdy, do we think he could be in on the list somewhere?
Honestly, I don't. He's a
Okay.
first baseman that hasn't been performing.
Well, he has performed a little bit this season. Like,
Like, I
sneakily.
mean, you saw where he rigged Harper because of the positioning.
Yeah,
Same
for
has to
sure.
go for Vladdy.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
It was
Um,
definitely a top 50, but I have him somewhere in my low 20s, or
low
my low
20s to
20s or high
30s.
30s.
All right, so as of right now, Gunner, Bobby, Skeens, Judge, Ellie, William Contreras. You're offered Mookie Betts for William Contreras. What do you say?
Don't take him.
Okay. So as of right now, we have Mookie number 8. Next to him, we had Jose Ramirez If you are the Los Angeles Dodgers, are you taking Ramirez for Mookie? I don't think I am either. You're offered Juan Soto for Jose Ramirez. What are you saying? This is assuming that you're going to get Juan Soto on his fair free agent contract. So that's kind of how we got to
I
handle this.
also still think though I wouldn't trade one, so I wouldn't trade Jose Ramirez for somebody who I believe will be a DH.
Yeah, I agree. J-Ram, at least, I think, should play third for the rest of his career. He's already on an undervalued contract. I do
At
agree. Now,
at
what do you think?
minimum, I could see him moving to first, but he'll at least be in the field.
Soto, you're the Yankees. You're offered Yordan Alvarez. Keep in mind, for the next 4 seasons, Yordan Alvarez is making just under $20 million.
I think I'd take Yordan Alvarez.
I think I do as
The,
well. Do you take Yordan over J-Ram?
I don't for the same reason that I would not take a DH over someone that plays the field
All right, I
when they're
agree.
that close.
All right, you're offered Shohei for Soto. What do you do?
Joe for Soto, I don't think I would take that.
So you're taking Soto. I think I agree with you.
Massive luxury tax, and we don't know how Shohei's going to pitch.
Okay. So right now we're working with Otani, Finn. Are you taking Acuna or Otani?
I'm taking Otani early. You know what? Reverse
Yeah, I think I'm
contract
barely.
again.
Yeah, I think I'm barely taking Acuna. Are you taking Soto on fair value or Acuna on his contract?
This one's close, but I think I'm taking Acuna.
Okay, yeah, this is interesting too. Because I don't think you can argue Acuna over Jordan. Because I think the ceiling argument goes out the way. I think their ceilings are pretty similar. But then Soto, again, I think the ceilings are pretty similar. It's just, I feel like what you're going to get on average from Soto is a lot better than Acuna. I think I barely, like, not barely, but significantly, but not greatly lean Soto here.
Yeah, I see what you mean, especially considering the injury concerns of Acuna.
Yeah. I think Acuna 12 is fine. Right now we're working with Shohei, Finn. You're the Dodgers. You're offered Shohei. In return, Tatis.
I don't think I would take that. Once again, contract, and if he isn't pitching well, he's not playing a premium position.
So who are you taking?
He's a DH. I'm taking Tatis over Otani.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, we had ranked Otani as one of our worst contracts. All right, we're working with Otani right now. Again, okay, well, we got to beg this question. Acuna or Tatis, which one?
Tatis.
Oh, okay. Make the case here.
I think Tatis will play a premium position whereas I have massive injury concerns for Acuna, and when he is healthy, his defense isn't good.
Hmm. I think I'm going to have to push back and say Tatis at 13, behind Acuna.
Okay,
All right,
let's hear it. Why?
put it out this way. At their ceiling, who has the higher ceiling between the two of them? I think it's Acuna pretty clearly.
Yeah, I can agree on that.
I think Tatis, he doesn't have that runaway MVP ceiling that I think Acuna, Soto, Jordan have, right? The offense is just a little bit lacking for Tatis, I think. Although the defense, like you said, is better, I think that puts him, when you consider the floor of these players, maybe Tatis does barely, pass Acuna a little bit. But when you look at what you think you're going to probably get on average between these guys, I think Acuna's, I think they're probably neck and neck. And then you take into the fact Acuna is making less money. I think I take Acuna.
You
even
know
with
what?
the
Yeah, I
injury
see that.
concerns.
I see that logic with the neck and neck in the contracts.
Yeah. All right. So now we're working with Shohei. You're offered Kyle Tucker. What do you say, Finn?
I think I take Kyle Tucker contract, and I think Kyle Tucker's going to actually play the field.
Yeah, I think he's in a similar range to Tatis, where maybe his ceiling isn't runaway MVP, but it's borderline MVP. I think him and Tatis have very similar ceilings. We're working with Shohei here. You're offered Corey Seager.
I think I take that.
You'd take Seager.
You know what? Actually, yeah, I would take Seager because once again, contract and injury.
Yeah, I think Seager's really similar to Tatis and Tucker, where if he's playing a premium position, his defense is a little lacking. If he's playing a position where he's better fit defensively, maybe he's a little bit overpaid. But he's still like at that borderline MVP level consistently. I think Seager's definitely the pick.
And I definitely think that even if he moves from shortstop, he will still be playing in the field.
Yeah.
It
Um,
will just be third base.
yeah. Now we're working with Shohei versus George Kirby, Finn.
This is close, but I think I take Shohei.
Yeah. It's really hard to weigh the ceiling. Kirby does have 4 seasons remaining of team control, even past this season. I don't know. It's really tough. I think Shohei, this is probably a good spot to fit in Shohei. We're definitely going to have to put unofficial next to this rankings.
We're
My
gonna have to
lord.
put a what?
We're going to have to put an unofficial tag next to these rankings for sure. Um,
No kidding. Can you put one of those on Instagram? An official tag?
unofficial top 25 rankings. This podcast has run a lot longer than the other ones. We're gonna try to wrap this up within the next 5 minutes. Um, for right now, these are the other names we're working with: Kirby, Scooball, Schreider, Lindor, Julio, Riley, Vlad Jr., Bryce Harper. That's actually one name short of 25. What are you thinking? Who do you think is the next of these guys off the list?
I think Spencer Strider. He's locked
Okay,
up with the team friendly extension. I could see him winning Cy Young if he gets his walks down.
I agree. Outside of that, this is maybe because I believe in the player. I really like Julio. I like nominating him here, Finn. We've seen what he can be offensively. If his contract plays out the way that you think it is, the first like 8 seasons of his extension are like a bargain. And if he is that good, then those last seasons where he is making the big money are market value. I still like Julio even with the down season.
You know what? I don't mind him in that spot.
Yeah, it's just because I think that contract can be so team friendly. I could see it playing out that way. I feel similarly with Kirby here. He actually does have the team control argument compared to Scooball. What do we think about Kirby over Scooball?
I kind of agree with that because of the club.
Yeah, that was 19. Now we're at 20. Um, how do we feel Scooball versus Lindor or Scooball versus Riley?
I think I'd have Lindor over Scooball, but Scooball over Riley.
Yeah, I don't know. This is really tough, actually. I'm getting to the point now where it's like, man, maybe maybe we shouldn't have done this. I feel like we're gonna get bashed for this. Uh, we're at the point where I do like what we've done here because we have weighed a lot, but hmm, if I was offered Scooball for Lindor straight up, I would say no. So I do like Lindor. If I was offered Austin Riley for Lindor, I would say Lindor. Yep.
I
If I
agree.
was offered Scooball for Riley, I would say Scooball's winning. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
The starting pitcher is more valuable than the third baseman, in my opinion. Especially
All
when
right.
said starter is an ace.
If I'm offered Vlad Jr. for Riley, I'm taking Austin Riley. Okay. Yeah. Uh, if I'm offered Vlad for Harper, I think I just have to take Vlad. Is the thing. All right. Let's throw in Michael Harris. What do we think? Michael Harris or Vlad? Who are we taking?
I'm taking Michael Harris.
I think I'm taking Vlad. Barely. I don't know. He still has a year of team control. I think it's going to be very similar to like Jordan, where it's like I don't see him getting overpaid.
I don't see him getting overpaid either, but the thing is, Michael Harris plays a premium position. Vlad
He,
plays first base.
yeah, he plays a premium position and he's locked up. We'll have them at 23 and 24. I actually don't even think we can put Bryce Harper at 25, just staying true to the trade value rankings. Um, yeah, what do we? Who's a name we'd like to nominate here, Finn?
I'd honestly like to throw in Zach Wheeler, Tyler Glasnow.
Zach Wheeler, Tyler Glass now. It's definitely not bad. Um,
Both Cy Young caliber pitchers who I think deserve a honorable mention at least there on this list.
yeah. Uh, what do we think? You know, as you're saying it, I think we're gonna go Wheeler, Finn. I think Wheeler's gonna round out this last spot. He does have that big. He did get a big contract, but I think we're gonna round out with Wheeler. You know, I like this list, Finn, and I also hate it. Um, right
I'm kind
now,
of in agreement with that.
right now
There's a
for the
lot of things you can disagree with, but at least we have our logic.
yeah, and you know we're probably gonna have to refine this list. Maybe in a later episode we'll refine it. Maybe when the NBA sections are done, we'll refine this list and maybe extend it. Um, right now for the viewers, we're at an hour and 10 of recording. I'll probably trim that down a lot. Right now, the list as we stand: Gunnar Henderson, number one; Bobby Wood Jr., Paul Skeens, Aaron Judge, Ellie De La Cruz, Adley Rutschman, William Contreras, Mookie Betts, Jose Ramirez, Jordan Alvarez, Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis Jr., Kyle Tucker, Corey Seager, Shohei, Spencer Strider, Julio, Kirby, Lindor, Screwball, Riley, Vlad, Harris, Wheeler. I say it, I really like this list, and I really hate it, Finn. I don't know. I don't know. We're going to refine it. For now, we're going to put out the list as it is now. Nothing is ever fully done. It can only further be worked on. We're going to call it an episode. I'm your host, Patrick McDonnell. Joined with me was co-host Finn McDonnell. Till next time, next episode coming out in 2 days, the Atlanta Hawks preseason preview podcast. We'll see you later.